Fiber is traditionally not a macronutrient but could be considered as one, because of its fundamental role in our health and metabolism. It is far more important than we've recognized thus far. That's why it is one of the 4 macronutrients that you should follow in your diet. How much and from which sources? Let's dig deeper into that. But first, what is fiber? Fiber is carbohydrate that the human gastrointestinal system cannot absorb. Then what's the point? The point is that during millions of years our intestine has developed a symbiosis with microbes that can and use this fiber as energy. When fiber reaches the end of the intestinal tract called colon, the bacteria starts to break it down and use it as energy. In that same process, bacteria excrete short-chain fatty acid called butyrate, which is a very important energy source for intestinal tract cells. Those cells have developed a need for this butyrate to stay healthy. In fact, they can't function without it. In the case of too little fiber and thus too little butyrate for intestinal membrane cells, the colon wall starts to leak through toxic elements like lipopolysaccharides that cause strong inflammation throughout the whole body. As for butyrate, all of which the cells of the intestinal wall don't use as energy, is absorbed into the bloodstream and has many amazing effects on our metabolism and overall health. The second important thing fiber does is that it causes a gel-like mass of the food that goes through our intestinal system. That means that it slows down the absorption of nutrients. For example, the carbohydrates that would normally absorb in 30 minutes will be stretched out to 2 to 3 hours inside the fiber gel mass. The second important thing fiber does is that it causes a gel-like mass of the food that goes through our intestinal system. That means that it slows down the absorption of nutrients. For example, the carbohydrates that would normally absorb in 30 minutes will be stretched out to 2 to 3 hours inside the fiber gel mass. That has at least 2 important benefits. We won't get a blood sugar and insulin spike, and the hunger stays at bay a lot longer. Try it, eat some fast-absorbing sugar like candy, for let's say 300 kilocalories. On the next day, eat 150 kilocalories of the same candy and 150 kilocalories of vegetables with it. I predict that you felt hungry and weak after 20 to 30 minutes on the first day, and it took 2 to 3 hours on the second day. The third, maybe the most important factor, is the hormonal effect. Did you know that our intestine secretes over 30 different hormones, of which many are extremely important for our functioning metabolism, keeping hunger at bay, and overall health and well-being? For example, one of the most important ones is GLP-1 hormone, which is levels decline in metabolic syndrome, and cause increased weight gain, hunger, and plays a role in developing type 2 diabetes. The kind of fiber that doesn't produce a gel mass is called insoluble fiber, and it is the type of fiber that affects the hormonal function of the intestine. So, now we've gotten the why out of the way, let's focus on the how. Getting enough high-quality fiber from different sources isn't nearly as hard as you might think. The minimum you should aim for is 25 grams per day. The good thing is that when you follow my instructions on the carbohydrate video, this amount comes automatically. So for an example, let's say you'll eat 600 grams of mixed vegetables, 1 oatmeal porridge and 2 loaves of oat bread, you'll get 23 grams of fiber with just 52 grams of overall carbohydrates. That's the reason we started with carbohydrates, and I recommended that you'd eat mostly fiber-rich carb sources. So, are there any special fiber sources you should consider? Yes, seeds, nuts, fruits and berries. Of course they aren't as high in fiber content, but they'll make a nice addition. Maybe the most important thing to remember is to get your fibers from different sources. If you only get your fiber from one source, for example oats, then the health and metabolic benefit will be much lower. Remember that different fibers have different duties in our intestines and as food for bacteria. Don't overthink this part, just try to eat a wide range of veggies, whole grains, seeds and berries. So, this is why and how you should eat fiber-rich foods. If you have eaten very little fiber before and raise those amounts up in one day, your stomach may get upset. This is very common. Bloating, diarrhea and lower stomach pain are quite common symptoms. In those cases, it usually goes away over time, or the second option is to lower the fiber content and raise it up over time, for example to 15 to 20 grams per day over a month. Then your intestine and its bacteria have time to catch on.